This week, guys, we did slashers, 80s horror, and a legend documentary that you don't want to miss this week. So let's get into it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing my weekly watched list. That's 5 movies that I watched this week that I thought you should check out. These are the ones that made the cut. If you're new here, I try to pick out stuff that maybe you never heard of, stuff that I've missed out on, or just things that I want to watch each week that I think you would enjoy. As always, any of the physical media that's out for these releases will be located down below. You can wish list it to your Amazon wish list or purchase it that way, and I'll let you know where each of these you can watch online. But yeah, this week was actually a lot of fun. I got to watch a lot of different things. Like, I really wanted to watch some 80s stuff, and I wanted to watch some new movies, which ended up being slashers, and there's just a whole mixed bag full of stuff here, so I can't wait to talk to you about it. So let's get into it. All right, guys, so first up we have Heart Eyes, which was in the theater for Valentine's Day. And of course, it was a movie that some people went and saw and really enjoyed, and some were kind of on the fence. So I was curious to see what Heart Eyes was going to be like for me. Now, some background on it. This is by director Josh Rubin, who did a really funny movie that I think is really good called Werewolves Within. Some people really didn't like it. I think it's fantastic. It's hilarious. Josh Rubin is also an actor, so he's done a lot of work in different movies and stuff like that, but he's actually a pretty talented director, so I was kind of curious to see how he would do for this Valentine's Day slasher romance comedy. So what is it all about? Well, it's about this Heart Eyes killer who's going around on Valentine's Day and wreaking havoc on everybody. Anybody that's out on a date or having some sort of romantic thing on Valentine's Day, they are the target of this serial killer. Now, there's a girl in this movie, and she just got out of a relationship, and they're just learning about this killer on the loose anyway, and she happens to bump into this guy who she kind of has a fancy for. Turns out he's the guy replacing her at her job because she screwed up some advertisement campaign right before the serial killer started going around slashing people. Her and him sort of try to work together to salvage her job because he's hired to save the ad campaign. The killer comes out and tries to kill them both. You know, it's one of those romantic comedies slammed into a very extremely graphic and gory like slasher film. The comedy is going to be a little bit more cringe because it's intentionally being a romantic comedy to begin with, let alone one that's a little bit on the younger side, and obviously is going to say some things in it that people who don't like romance comedies might not like. But I will say, if I was forced to watch a romantic comedy, I would want to watch this because, man, the gore in this movie is amazing. It's really good. And the kills in it, yes, I mean, they're really actually pretty damn good. I wouldn't say this is a movie that I was like over the moon about, but I really did enjoy it. And I do like Josh Rubin's. I just don't think it was as good as his previous movie, but I still think it's good enough that you should check it out. And I give it like a 7.5. It was almost an 8 out of 10, but some of the dialogue, even if it's intentional, was a little bit too much for me at times. But you know, everybody's a little bit different with humor, so it may actually be good for you. But yeah, you can rent it now for extremely expensive, like $20, or you can get it on Blu-ray. It'll be coming out soon. I put a link down below for you to wish list it if you like.
Like tears in rain.
Up next, we have Like Tears in Rain, which is a documentary about Rutger Hauer, one of my favorite actors and a lot of really great films. He has just a huge list of stuff that he had done. And, you know, at first I thought this was going to be a documentary that was going to be about kind of like him as an actor and all this other stuff, but really it was about his private life, a lot of the like things that people really didn't know about him. Rutger Hauer was one of those people that wanted to document his entire life. And so there are these reels of stuff from him when he was like just coming up, and his wife and everything, and it just kind of goes over the kind of person he was, how he would connect with other people, and just who he was. But I'll tell you this, man, this is one of the most heartfelt documentaries I've ever seen. Man, it will make you want to be a better partner to your significant other. Trust me, because man, this is some deep Rutger Hauer family stuff in it. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some people in it that are, you know, part of the industry. There's a lot of different actors, like Whoopi Goldberg and him used to be really close friends. A ton of different directors, like Jason Eisner, who, you know, did Hobo with a Shotgun. They do go over some of the movies in there, but it really kind of focuses on who Rutger Hauer was at his essence, at his core. He was not the type of guy that would go off and drink with everybody at a after party. He was the kind of guy that would go sit in a boat and push himself out and read a book and just enjoy the world. He was always on the move, always wanted to be a part of life, and he always had his wife next to him by his side. He was just a lover of life and people, and this really does just a beautiful justice to his life. Now, this was actually directed by, I think, one of his friends, someone that was very close to him, named Sana Fabry de Jonge. She explores his life and reveals a man that's more fascinating than just his movies. So if you're into something like that, I highly recommend it, but just beware, this shit's gonna make you want to cry. It's actually out on Viaplay today, Monday. It just came out, and you can watch it for a subscription to Viaplay, which does a lot of really great TV shows and movies, but you can even sign up for it on Amazon. So if you want to get like a channel, Viaplay, they even do like a free 7-day trial of it. So you could potentially watch it for that and check out the channel and see what it's like. I'll put a link down below for you to check that out. But yeah, I would give this an easy 8 out of 10. It's hard to judge. It wasn't what I expected, but it was something that made me want to be a better person and live my life to the fullest. So yeah, it's heavy.
And will abandon God.
Up next, we have an Italian horror film that I have been waiting to talk about and I have not seen, and that's The Sect, which this is the 4K copy from Severin, and this is the original cover, actually. This comes with the soundtrack, the Blu-ray, the 4K, and just a ton of extras. Yeah, man, I have not seen this, and I bought this a couple years ago when Cemetery Man and The Church came out, because this is by director Michele Soavi, who was an understudy of Dario Argento, and he did a lot of acting and film work with all of the Italian masters. Went on to make a lot of different movies Stage Fright and The Church and Cemetery Man and a bunch of other stuff. And this is one that is probably more in line with The Church, but it's essentially about this kindergarten teacher who discovers a secret in the basement of her home. She has basically grown up her entire life not knowing who her parents are because some tragedy befell them, and some old man comes wandering into her life and she almost hits him with her car, and she feels bad and takes him home, and he ends up dying in her home, setting off a chain of surrealistic supernatural events that will send her and her friends into a spiral of madness. It's a satanic cult, and they're doing some pretty crazy stuff. In fact, the beginning of this movie has a scene with this guy wandering in to some 70s group who are hippies, and some pretty crazy stuff happens there. Now, this was written by 3 different people, including Dario Argento, who produced it, Gianni Romoli, and of course, Michele Soavi, who is the director of the film. I would say that this is one of those movies that is, it's a very specific taste of horror that a lot of people are not going to enjoy. A lot of people are going to find this atrociously boring, but over the years, as I've watched more underground Italian horror films, I've started to kind of focus in on certain vibes that these films make. And there was a time where Italian cinema had this vibe going about some of their movies, and Michele Soavi was one of the last vestiges of that sort of, vibey kind of filmmaking. Now, The Church, which is one of my favorite movies by Michele Soavi, was not my favorite movie of his for a very long time. There is some stuff in the film that I absolutely adored, but I didn't like the film. But over time, it became an acquired taste. Like it's just something that I started to crave more and more and more. And every time I watched it, it got a little bit better. And I think that The Sect is one of those movies because it has so many surrealistic, nightmarish things that happen in it that kind of remind me of moments of Suspiria, The Church, and a lot of other things, but wholly its own. It's very original in its own nature. It's interesting in my opinion, but it is a subtle brushing with supernatural. It doesn't lay it all out there all the time, and the surrealistic moments are pretty trippy, but it's not gonna be for everybody. So I would say if you like The Church by Michele Soavi, this might be a movie that you would enjoy, but it would be less than The Church in my personal opinion. Some people swear this is one of the best. I wouldn't say that, but I really was impressed by this film by the end of the movie, and it kept me awake. It kept me in suspense, and it made me wonder what the hell was going on. Now, it doesn't make a lot of sense in a lot of areas, but you're going to get that vibe in here, and it's going to be pretty palpable. I would give this one probably a 7 out of 10, and it could go up after further watching. But yeah, it's definitely pretty beautiful on 4K, let me tell you that. This was a nice release that they put out, so thank you, Severin. Now, if you'd like to check this one out, you can actually watch it on AMC Plus, Shudder. If you have Arrow subs account, you can actually watch it on there. So their subscription service that they have. So all of those, you can watch it, or you can pick up a copy on 4K or Blu-ray. I'll put a link down below. It'll lead you all of that. You can add it to your wish list and buy it later if you like. But I don't know how long these are going to stick around. This isn't super popular, so you're probably doing all right. Up next, we have The Burning, which this is a disc that my buddy Nick gave me. He gave me a bunch of movies. We kind of traded some movies and stuff. He gave me a stack of stuff, and I was like, well, fuck that. I'll give you this, this, and this. Anyway, shout out, Nick. Thank you for the movie. This is The Burning from 1981. This is considered to be one of the best slashers out there. A lot of people that I talk to who are slasher fans absolutely adore The Burning, and after rewatching it again for the first time in many years, I can see totally why. It's a straightforward slasher with a good soundtrack, great characters that you actually feel bad for when they go out and kill. And this is a movie that was written a couple of years before Friday the 13th. But, you know, completely different story, but this one has a character very much like Jason before Jason even really existed as a slasher. This was written before, and it actually got special effects by Tom Savini, who turned down Friday the 13th Part 2 because he thought, who the hell's gonna wanna watch a Part 2? This isn't about the kid, that's stupid. Anyway, he made this one, and the practical effects in this are amazing. So essentially, this one is about an abusive summer camp like caretaker who's like a drunk, and you don't really find a lot of that stuff out till like much later, but these kids want to play a prank on him because he's such a mean shit. His name is Cropsy. They put like a human head with like candles in its eyes and then set it on the nightstand, and then he knocks it over. It catches himself on fire, his entire house, and then the kids scatter and he's sent to the hospital and almost dies. 5 years later, he gets out of the hospital and goes on a hunting spree at the same campgrounds to try to find some kids to kill and pay for his burning. The Burning. He goes around with shears. Like I said, he's killing a lot of these teenagers that you actually give a shit about in this movie. And you get a pretty cool cast too, like Jason Alexander from Seinfeld or Fisher Stevens from My Science Project, which people are like, wait, My Science Project? That's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. And Fisher Stevens is pretty obnoxious.
When you're cool, the sun shines on you 24 hours a day. Oh yeah?
And we even get like Brian Backer and a bunch of other faces that you'll recognize from all of your 80s favorite movies. But yeah, it's really gory. It's got a great soundtrack. It's a really great slasher film, and you've never seen it before, I would highly recommend checking it out. I would give this an easy 8 out of 10. It's one that I will watch again for sure, sooner than I did last time. You can actually watch this on Tubi right now, and or pick up a copy down below. I think it's like $15 on Blu-ray, and I got a link down there for the new 4K that just came out from Scream Factory. So it'll take you to the 4K, and if you want to get a Blu-ray, just click on the Blu-ray down below and add it to your wish list. Last but not least, we have Retribution. the ultimate nightmare. Oh! The original cover of Retribution is from 1987. I picked this up for about $20 through Hamilton Book, but it's a Severn release. If you can see here, they actually had a different cover, but they ran out of covers, so I got this one that came with it, and it has a reversible on here too. But this one comes with like 3 discs. It has like the first disc, the second disc, and the soundtrack right here. So there's a lot. Now, this is a movie that most of you probably don't even know who the hell it is or what it's about or anything. But Retribution is essentially about a manic depressive guy who is an artist, and he's struggling with his painting, and he jumps off a building to pretty much take care of it all. When he dies, there's a man dying around the same time who was born on the exact same day as he was born. Okay, so they both die at the exact same time, and somehow it mixes their spirits into one guy. And that guy was a murdered gangster. And this gangster uses George, who's this artist who jumped off the building, as some sort of like spiritual body. But like, it's really confusing. It's basically like 2 souls in one, but one soul can freely roam around outside of the body and like attack people with mind powers. But yeah, it gets pretty wild. There's a lot of people in this movie too, which is pretty interesting. It was actually directed by Guy Magar, who did Stepfather 3, Blue Thunder, and a bunch of other random stuff. This is a movie that he and his buddy produced and wrote and directed together. It stars Dennis Lipscomb, who's from War Games, and Eyes of Fire, who plays George, this like nice guy artist, and Suzanne Snyder, which if you remember, she was in Weird Science as one of the girlfriends, Return of the Living Dead 2 as the girlfriend who was with the 2 main guys, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Night of the Creeps, and so many more. I had the biggest crush on her when I was growing up as a kid, so it was really great to see her in this movie. And this is genuinely a 80s movie through and through, but it's not just all schlock and silly and gore. There's a lot of gore in this movie and a lot of creative, like really whacked out 80s stuff, but it also has like this sentimental value to it about some of the characters, and that you will not see coming. Like it kind of makes you appreciate Suzanne Snyder just a little bit more. And she's like this hooker with a heart of gold. And Dennis Lipscomb's character, George, is just this guy with a heart of gold who's like a nerd. And, you know, just there's a lot of weird things that happen in this movie. Some people swear by this movie. I didn't love the movie, but I liked it a whole lot because it is so well shot. The sets are just amazing. The practical effects and the things that they did, the special effects in this movie are just fantastic. Everything they do in this movie is pretty damn good. The only problem I think I had with this is that the pacing of the movie is a little long and it kind of runs on a little bit while not making too much sense. But, you know, I gotta say, like, it is definitely a hidden gem for those of you who may have not seen it and you are looking to kind of like complete your 80s watch list for horror movies. A lot of people consider this one to be more of like a supernatural thriller, but there is gore in it, so it definitely feels like a horror movie in my opinion, but the sentimental value really kind of adds to it, so it's like actually a decent film. And I would say I would give this about a 6.5 out of 10, maybe a 7. It's one of those ones I need to watch again, but they had a lot of really cool, crazy ideas in this film, a lot of wonderful shots, a lot of silly things that happen in this film. He goes crazy, people die in pretty crazy ways, but it just looks good. Like, man, if you like 80s movies, this is like the epitome of it. I think it's something that you should at least check out, and fortunately right now, you can watch it on Midnight Pulp for ads, Troma Now for the subscription, YouTube subscription if you have that, or you can rent it, or link down below to pick up a copy on Blu-ray. But yeah, that's it, guys. A little bit of everything in this one. I did want to thank the people over at like Tears in the Rain for allowing me to watch this screener and check it out. Highly recommend you give it a whirl when you get a chance. I'll be back next week for another episode of my weekly watch list. We'll be having plenty of other videos throughout the week, stuff on physical media, as well as new movies coming out. But thank you guys so much for watching this video to the end. If you've liked something in here and it seems up your alley, let me know in the comment section down below. Hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. But as always, long live the void.